67, 68, 69. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. I'm just training to become part of the toughest army in all of 40k. The Death Guard. Now, these stinky boys are famously tough, but are they also too tough to paint? My name's Nick, this is Miniature Death, and we're gonna paint some putrid, pus-filled, puke-inducing The Plague Marine kit comes with a lot of different options, but for some daft reason, they're meant to be monopose, as in, these arms have to go with this torso. Even the shoulder pads have these weird little tabs that get in the way. And the arms have them as well, which makes changing the pose needlessly difficult. Luckily, I've got a solution. All you need to do is chuck away those instructions and get chopping. And soon enough, I built this monstrosity. I wanted him to have all these weird, bony tree branch things all flowing in the same direction to create a cool sense of balance and poise, while he's dual wielding some savage looking plague weapons. Now, I'm not the best painter in the world, as you're about to see, but as I'd soon find out, I was in for an extra tough time with this kit. To start, I popped my Marine off his base, pinned him to some cork for easy access, primed everything grey, and whipped off the shoulder pads, which I just kept blue tacked on, same as his backpack. Now I'm going for the classic heresy scheme, also known as the Pallid Hand. So I started off airbrushing a base coat of Ushabti bone, focusing mostly from above to leave a little bit of darkness in the recesses. And then I did a small squirt from below of Bugman's Glow to try and add a bit of warmth. But honestly, watching this footage back, I should have gone more extreme. I should have really tried to push that contrast and get a nice smooth gradient. And last but not least, I did some highlights of pallid witch flesh from above, only on the most upturned surfaces that would naturally catch the most light. There we go. Airbrush all done, and now time for the non-airbrush, also known as a brush. And something that's tough about painting the Death Guard is also true for a lot of Chaos kits. All that trim. Now the classic Pallid Hand scheme uses a kind of deep bronze here, but I wanted to add a bit of gold into mine because, I don't know, I was feeling fancy. And the tricky detail work didn't stop there. I kept on working my way around the model, finding all these different textures and trying not to think about how, because I'd chosen a bone white armour scheme, any mistakes with all this dark red and black and brown and metallics would really ruin my day. At this point, I started to realise just how many sculpted details are on this kit. It's a nightmare to know what you're looking at half the time. And yes, you can go on the GW site or check the box art, but if you're trying to paint intuitively, it's near impossible to know what anything is supposed to be. Almost everywhere there are tentacles and grenades and more tentacles and pipes and more tentacles and little maggots and even more tentacles. Honestly, it's a nightmare. So I gave up. Not forever, but I figured I'd put my Plague Marine to one side and try and crack something a little bit more simplistic. This blighted little bonce. Talk about a face only a mother could love. I began by base coating the skin with some gravestone blue. Why blue? Well, even healthy skin tones have a surprising amount of blue in them, so a diseased death soldier should have even more cold, clammy tones. I then shot some pure white directly from above through the airbrush to leave all those sickly blues as a shadow. Look at that, it's like he's never been outside before. And then, just quickly block in his breathing equipment and armour trim, and we're ready to apply a very, very thin down wash of Volupus Pink contrast paint. This helped make the skin appear really bruised and agitated, and honestly, in just 3 steps, I was feeling a lot more confident about how the final product would look. So, let's just pop some thin down Nazdrag yellow contrast into his eyes and sores, do some minimal highlighting with pure white, accentuating his eyebrows and nose wrinkle and horrible horny looking growth, and there we go. One dead head. After that disgusting little palette cleanser, I was feeling a lot more confident and ready to crack on with the armour. Before we do, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. I was blown away with the reaction to my last video, and honestly, yeah, just a sincere thank you for all the positivity. And if you're enjoying this video, why not chuck us a like and subscribe? Okay, so to help me tie everything together and try and make sense of the model so far, I mixed up a wash of 1 part Skeleton Horde Contrast and 3 parts Lamia Medium and sloshed it all over the model. Now you do need to kind of babysit a wash like this, soaking up any pooling where you don't want it to be. And it really does tie the room together, so to speak. You know, it makes it clear what everything is, bed in all the details, but it's still a bit too clean. So I whipped out the Agrax Earthshade and just added it to anywhere that needed a bit more definition, a bit more darkness in the recesses, and a chance to grunge up the weaponry even more. And don't worry, I've not forgotten about the shoulder pads I took off earlier. And at long last, it's time to tackle the tentacle. And this tentacle. And this tentacle. And these maggot things. And this tentacle. And this tentacle as well. Have I made my point yet? You get it. And for a change of pace from all that pink, we'll block in these grenades. Green, because grenades are green. And so is this pipe, I've just decided. And this pipe's next to the green grenades, so I had to do it black. And this pipe's black as well. Whew. Let's pop a little bit of that green on the shoulder pad, because that's a big part of the Pallid Hand scheme. And let's tackle these horny buggers. Now I couldn't really paint them as bone, because the armour was bone. So instead I went for this muted brown to make it look like dead wood, and gave it a wash of Nuln Oil to darken things down even further. Alright, quick wash montage. We did the tentacles pink, the pustules yellow, and these pustules even more yellow. Alright, we're in the home stretch. I can feel it in my bones. Now, so far, on a scale of 0 to tough, I'd give this Plague Marine about a 7. Things were going to get even tougher for me with my least favourite part of painting, edge highlights. Now, anywhere I could, I was going to try and make my life easy. So I used the shoulder of my brush to do simple, pure white highlights on any hard edges. Highlights of a shabty bone on the tentacles, and I even manually dot highlighted every taste bud on this tentacle tongue. A couple of scratchy aurochs flesh highlights on the shoulder pads, just to help that green pop out. And then a sort of reverse highlight for the bony branches, adding strands of black towards the edges where the wood would be dead and darker. And then just some simple sponge chipping with Rhinox hide, everyone's favourite brown, just adding it to any areas that would naturally get caught and battered up, and then going back in with my brush to manually accentuate those scratches and make them seem even more extreme. Alright, it's all coming together now. Let's superglue on that backpack, superglue on his rotten little head, and we've got ourselves a finished Plague Marine. Or have we? Now, I know what you're thinking. That Plague Marine looks way too clean. And you'd be right, but I had one more secret weapon up my sleeve, Dirty Down Rust. Now, I've never actually used this stuff before, but it's meant to be like magic in a bottle. So, let's slop on a nice thick coat all over his weapons and any areas of his armour that I want to grunge up even more. And then you kind of just wait and let it do its thing. It forms this really horrible rusty, crusty patina, which you can then reactivate with water once it's dried and adjust the effect to your liking. And once everything was suitably disgusting, I just gave it a simple quick dry brush with silver to make those edges look razor sharp. And honestly, that last little bit of weathering with the rust was what finally cracked this tough little nut for me. In fact, I loved it so much that I chucked out my original plans for his base and went looking in my bits box. I chose this 40mm base from Necromunda, which yes is the wrong size, but yes it looks sick, and it's also metal and I can accentuate those rusted effects with a little bit of texture paste. Then let's just slap on some rocks for extra debris, give stuff an overbrush of silver, add some extra bronze highlights, paint up the rocks, drown it in Agrax Earthshade, and then slop on a nice thick layer of Dirty Down Rust. Now all that's left to do is pop our boy in his base and give his rim a nice coat of black. The best bit of every project. Alright, final verdict. Are the Death Guard too tough to paint? Well, I think honestly the answer is maybe. If you're a really, really good painter, then it's got loads of lavish details that you could spend hours on and really luxuriate in all the disgusting little bits. For an average schmuck like me, it was kinda just stressful. But anyway, thanks for watching. My name's Nick. This is Miniature Death, and let's take a look at the final result.